We're gonna explain how angle kits work, and then we're also gonna kind of show you different rates of angle. So this has like a total professional angle kit on it. It's WiseFab, and it's even modified beyond how WiseFab sends it. So we're just gonna drift at lower rates of angle and kind of talk about it. We'll go kind of, if you had like stock angle, and then maybe like a chop knuckle, and then, you know, like something chop knuckle lower control arm, or like a full-on angle kit. So let's get started. So what is an angle kit even? The angle kit is what you put on the front of the car to completely adjust the steering geometry in the front. So cars generally come, feel free internet trolls to correct me on this, but anywhere from like 25 to 32 degrees of angle from the factory. One of the ones that was the worst was actually our Genesis Coupe. I don't know what that actually was stock, but it was horrible. For drifting, yes, you can drift with that little amount of angle, but I always recommend at least trying to get 35, 40 degrees of angle. Something like a chop knuckle or an angle kit mod like that. We just put one on our Lexus where you just basically chopped off one attachment and then bolted on this little attachment on the bottom, and it moves the pickup for the tie rod essentially and allows you to get more angle. Or rack spacers, anything like that. I highly recommend, even if you're just getting started. You're not gonna know with that little of angle, stock angle, you're not gonna know whether it's you or the car. So basically it goes, you know, chop knuckle and rack spacers. Those are kind of your bottom of the barrel, still great upgrades. From there, you add on an extended lower control arm that gets you even more angle, and then you combine rack offset spacers, a modified knuckle, and an extended lower control arm, usually around like 1.5 inches, 40 millimeters, a little over. That will get you 50 degrees, somewhere around there. But that's a great route to go, much cheaper than going with like a WiseFab or something similar to that. But this is this is top of the line. This is what we use on our Pro car. So this is a WiseFab angle kit, and this is basically, they replace everything. So that's why it's so expensive. We'll see if you guys can get in there and see it very well. Now keep in mind, this is not similar to like an S chassis. This has two A-arms essentially. And so the coilover still stays in the same spot. It doesn't have, if you guys have seen on S chassis where they move the coilover out, that's because on those cars where they're McPherson strut front, this upper mount is also acting as your upper control arm essentially. And so to move everything out, you have to push the top of the coilover out. We don't have to do that on ours, which is pretty cool, hence why I like the Skyline angle setup. Also, don't worry about this oil. We're still trying to, I'm like attached to this filter. Jamo's been telling me to get rid of it, so I'll get rid of it. It just spits some. But basically, the knuckle and lower control arm and upper control arm are all extended, pushing the wheel out. So this is not for style points or anything like that. This is actually for the suspension. A lot of you guys question and wonder, hey, should I put spacers on my front wheels? No, just get the proper sized wheel for the angle kit you're running. It doesn't really matter where it ends up. If you can see on these, it does have a small spacer to clear the brakes, but it's not like a low offset wheel. It's fairly high offset with a 20 mil spacer on it just to clear everything. And we can run it without the spacer. We just figured out with this angle kit, we wanted to go a little bit wider. But that's why they stick out so far. It's actually the suspension pushing them out so that they can swing further back and forth. As you get into more intense angle kits too, they start changing the geometry. So it helps with like self-steer, which we're gonna get into that on another video, so stick around. I think at this point, I'm gonna show you guys kind of drifting at different rates of angle so you can kind of see the difference. I'm gonna limit myself. We can't actually limit the car, but you can see how I'm not able to adjust the car as much because I don't have as much angle. And because I'm a seasoned drifter, I'll be able to do it with little angle, but it really makes it hard when you're initiating and you don't have a lot of angle to, you know, kind of figure it out. So without further ado, let's get started. We're going to do one donut, one figure eight, and then one entry off the straight with what would be stock angle, what would be like a modded knuckle, so 40 degrees, and then full on pro level, whatever, 65, 68, 70 degrees. So we'll do each exercise, we'll go through them all. Just kind of pay attention and you can tell the different moves I can do as I get more angle. So the entries are gonna get more aggressive. Donuts and figure eights might look pretty similar, but watch the entries for sure. Those are gonna get way more aggressive as I can use more angle. So let's get started.
want you guys to notice that was basically my stock angle. I threw it in too hard, and because I held it, and because I had no extra angle, I spun out. If I had even had like a couple more degrees where I was able to steer a little bit, that would have helped significantly. I'm not even gonna do the entry because that's essentially what's gonna happen with stock angle. It's gonna suck. So let's move to like a modded knuckle. So I'll be able to use like half of my steering. You'll see I'm able to do a lot more with it, and then we'll go do an entry, and then we'll move to the pro kit. So if you guys notice, that's a lot easier. That was basically using maybe around 40 degrees of my angle. So what you would essentially get from like a modded knuckle, maybe if you have a little higher angle car and you just do rack spacers, I was actually able to have a little bit more steering feel in those donates and figure eights. I was able to do a nice entry. As you can see, huge difference between stock angle and just doing a little bit of modification. Now I'm going to show you guys what it's like with a full-on, full-bore pro angle kit. Let's do it. Ugh. It's super hot. If you guys are wondering, it actually cools down a lot faster, this car does, with just the fans and water sitting off. So that's why we can do that. Like, it was at like 233 and it's already dropping down. So it got a little hot. It's well over 100 degrees here. But let's get away from the car a little bit so you guys can hear well. But if you'll notice, with the big angle kit, right, difference between stock angle, you can actually drift, right? So basically, each angle kit gives you that much more you can do. Now, I always highly recommend, if you guys are wondering, we do have videos on how to build your car and things like that in our How to Drift series, so check those out. I always recommend doing some kind of angle kit, but not WiseFab just getting started. Work with like a modded knuckle and lower control arm, somewhere in that region, like that 40-degree angle kit, because there is a lot to learn driving past angle. It's a really good skill to have, especially when you do, when you go to WiseFab. If you guys noticed when I entered there, that was past my usable angle, but I was able to whip it and use the throttle to throttle it through and bring it back around. I wouldn't learn that skill if I immediately went to WiseFab. I'd be missing certain things. So I highly recommend doing something in the middle. But I think that shows the difference between all the angle kits. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button. We've built an entire How to Drift series just for you guys. We've gotten a lot of great feedback on it, so check that out. Please hit that subscribe button, turn those notifications on.